Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, for another YouTube video. Today we've got a very special guest who I'm sure you're all familiar with now. Coming back on the show, we've got Karen from Wingriders to talk to us about some recent events and also really what we've got to look forward to moving forward from this project. So thanks a lot for coming back on, Karen.
Thank you for having me, Akon. Thank you.
No, it's an absolute pleasure, and it's really important to have you on, given the recent events that happened with the Nomad bridge hack. And I thought that's maybe where we could start. If you could maybe shed a little bit of light on what went on with Nomad and relate it to Wingriders.
Sure, I'll pass over as much information as I have about the bridge hack. So obviously on the 2nd of August last week, Nomad Bridge was hacked, one of the largest bridge hacks in crypto. I believe it was the third one after, I think it was Ronin and Wormhole. So 195 million, I believe, was actually bled off that bridge, which obviously affected 4 different chains: Cardano, EVMOS, Moonbeam, and Nomad.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, those affected on those bridges, those projects, and those bridges themselves lost 70% of their TVL. And consequently, the token prices also absolutely got shattered because of that. Now, the way sometimes these bridges work, and sometimes it's not very clear to people I've come across, is they say, well, the bridge got hacked, but I've still got the wrap tokens. Unfortunately, the way a bridge works is once a token is on the bridge, it's either burnt or locked. And then a new token is minted on the other side. So in this case, it was the MAD tokens for Cardano of USDC, USDT, and Ethereum and Bitcoin. And if you think about it, the locked or the burnt coins on the other side of the bridge that are locked currently in the bridge that are nowhere else, they are the collateral for that. So once the bridge gets hacked, unfortunately, the loss of value happens in the wrapped tokens as they have no backing. So yes, very unfortunate, and our thoughts and obviously hearts go out to everyone who lost. Unfortunately, this is part and parcel of the the crypto system that we all operate in, and there's always bad actors. The thing with this bridge hack was it was kind of in a distributed way, which is very strange. So the first hacker actions could be replicated by other hackers, and literally it was copy pasted, and they took all the funds. The good part of this, there were some white hackers, there were some do-gooders, luckily for us, and some of those funds have now been returned to the Nomad Bridge. Obviously, the Nomad Bridge is independent of us. We should really clarify that. We used it as a tool, really, to get those assets into Cardano. I believe it's 36 million. The last time I looked has been recovered, which is okay, not anything near what was hacked, but at least it's really good to kind of feel there's people out there who are actually looking after the ecosystem in any way they can. And yes, I mean, you can check obviously how much is being recovered. There's a wallet address. We can share that under the video as well, so people can check, and the recovery plans, and also the Nomad assets and how they're going to be repatriated as and when. This is really nothing to do with us because we are a project that use the bridge, but the Nomad team themselves will come out, I'm sure, with some kind of distribution plan. And once they announce it, we will also announce it on our channels of how we can repatriate, or how those people who lost on the MAD assets or MAD tokens, that's a word, by the way, for Nomad tokens on the platform, can recover at least partially some of the funds that they lost. But we have no announcements at the moment, but as and when, please check out our Discord and our public announcement on Twitter and Telegram channels.
Yeah, we'll leave links to your Twitter, your Discord, and we'll also incorporate in the description that wallet address to see just what has been recovered. And Nomad, you said there was 4 other chains that were affected by this. It wasn't just Cardano projects that were affected. And really what you touched on there, I think, is the key component to understand that bridges are one-to-one. So you put the assets in at one end and they come out in the other, and they, until moving back and forth, that's kind of how they'll move around. The problem with this bridge hack was they were essentially unlocked from the Ethereum side and then able to hit the market. So that one-to-one
Absolutely
peg
spot on.
has been lost. So how are Wingriders essentially coping with this? You know, obviously you guys brought stable coins, and we can talk about all this, to the Cardano ecosystem, but that meant, of course, using the bridge. How is Wingriders coping with everything going on?
Yeah, good question. So apart from obviously those assets and the pools that are affected, and there are 4 assets that were bridged over from we're using the bridge. There was obviously the USDC and USDT, MAD USDT and MAD USDC. There was also MAD Ethereum and MAD Bitcoin. So those pools are obviously affected. We stopped swapping immediately as soon as the team was alerted, in order to obviously prevent any more depegging and any more situations like that happening. Obviously, withdrawals were always kept open. But as a DEX, we are fully functional. We have no kind of technical malfunctions now or then at the time of the hack. So the actual project and the app itself, or the DApp itself, was not obviously affected in any way. We're also quite well funded, so we're confident of moving forward strongly. Obviously, taking some of these losses as well as a project, not just the people who, liquidity providers who were affected. We as a project were partially affected, but realistically nothing that will prevent us from moving forward. And we're really committed to developing further. The liquidity is growing as we speak on our platform, and also the token price of the WRT token is recovering nicely. It's made the 35% recovery from the base. It went up to about 65% recovery, so that's also good. Also, currently, kind of Cardano native tokens and assets are pouring in, so the liquidity pools are liquidated, and not liquidated, that's wrong, but kind of you know what I'm saying, sufficiently supplied in the pools. And so that's it. We're also thinking about sort of other functions to drive revenue streams to the DEX on a continuous basis. And the other fundamental really kind of thought that kind of is stronger now, if you like, is the fact that, you know, going back to a community for opinions is highly important. We've been continuously doing this through something called the pre-DAO voting. And even on this hack, as it happened, obviously we had to intervene because the voting process takes a while. We intervened, we stopped the swapping, so no other sort of, you know, mal can come of this. But realistically, we have to realize that a process has to be set in place. It's not ideal for a project to intervene when we're going for decentralization. But if we hadn't have done that to a vote, that would have taken another maybe day. And by that time, the losses would have been even greater. The other 2 exciting things on the DEX are we've moved one step closer to, we've just revealed our boosting function, which is quite exciting because that was part of one of the WRT utilities, so the token holders utilities, whereby they can gain more yields through holding WRT. So we have a boosting vault. So apart from the regular farming vaults, you also get some boosted vaults on some of the farms, of course. They'll be indicated with the little lightning bolt. And not released yet, so here's a little preview that we have a sneak peek at a feedback platform that we've been working on, whereby community members and interested parties can come and obviously express their views on what features, what kind of functionalities they prefer, and maybe possible even improvements in terms of UX, UI, or whatever it may be. So that will be released very shortly. So there's your little scoop there.
Yeah, so there's lots coming. We'll touch on towards the end of the video again a little bit about sort of the latest developments and what's coming, although we've covered some pretty big ones there that you guys are getting for the first time on this channel. So what's Wingriders' really course of action next? You know, now that this has happened, what are they really looking at? What are you guys looking at to do next? And I take it that quite a lot of that, bringing it back to the bridge, is going to be dependent on how many of the funds are recovered. But what are you guys kind of looking at? What course of action are you taking to do next?
Okay, just to be very clear, obviously, sort of repatriation of any funds is well out of our hands because this has all happened in the Nomad Bridge. They're an independent project to us, and we'll probably go into kind of explaining what the reasons why we use the bridge. But currently, we put out after the actual hack, we intervened, we stopped swapping, as I mentioned, and then withdrawals were open throughout the time. During the hack, obviously, the functionality of the DEX didn't stop in any way, and it's as normal then as it is now. We then went about setting up a unique channel in Discord and trying to gather opinions. And then in the pre-DAO voting section of the Discord, we arranged a vote realistically to see what we should do. And overwhelmingly, you know, the if you like, the questions or the situation that was posed to the community, overwhelmingly they voted that such interventions in future to be carried out by the team are okay, and to continue blocking swaps on the actual pools that were affected. So this is again a good kind of demonstration how, you know, kind of going back to the community, listening to them, and we hope, you know, acting on that will help sort of make the community kind of understand that sometimes interventions are necessary. And this goes back again to kind of this whole concept of decentralization, which is the ultimate goal. It's not a black and white kind of situation. It's not a button you press. It's a really gradual scaling process that you test things and you put them out there. And when obviously, you know, this could be construed a black swan event for Cardano, obviously this bridge hack, in many ways, because we were the only project that were affected, you know, quite heavily on this. And going back to the community and being honest and saying, look, this has happened, nothing to do with us, but it's happened. What do we do? And we had that feedback. It's similar to what we do with fake coins, for instance. We try to highlight that, and, you know, on the UI of the platform so everyone sees it. But our hands are tied. There are, you know, hundreds of pairs out there. So we rely also on the community to be very vigilant and alert to kind of inform us about things like this. Yeah, so we're going to remain sort of blocked until any further liquidity providers from those pools can withdraw if they like to withdraw from those pools. And the next course of action is again put out voting when things settle and things are a little bit clearer. Yeah.
So yeah, that's perfect. This goal of decentralization, it's a goal. You know, nobody starts off completely decentralized, and in times like this, you're kind of thankful for that, because without your intervention, people would still be swapping for these mad assets that are essentially have lost a significant part of their value. So you've not stopped withdrawals, you've just stopped anybody from furthering the damage that has been done here. And I think that's, you know, definitely the right action to take. And the fact that you actually asked your community what they thought about that, and the overwhelming feedback was very much in your favor. I think that's absolutely brilliant. Can we talk a little bit about why Wingriders, and I love this feature about Wingriders, actually brought, you know, stable coins, Ethereum and Bitcoin to Cardano on a DEX? Because it was a really new and innovative feature. Now, unfortunately, through the Nomad hack, it's left a few casualties, but it was certainly, what was the initial reasoning behind that?
It's important, yeah, good question. I mean, to go back to kind of where we started, if you imagine Plutus that was released, I think it was September last year, and development started on kind of dApps. There was no stable coins, and there still isn't any stable coin on Cardano. So realistically, us being also committed to kind of development of the Cardano ecosystem, it was important to try and innovate in areas that are necessary for that growth. And definitely stable coins and more stable assets we'll mention, because obviously they collapse as well, like as we see in the bear market, BTC, not wrap versions, or Ethereum goes down as well, but they go down less, so they're more stable. It was important to bring these assets and give the choice to the users in Cardano. So stable coins, as we know, they're a safe harbor asset. So for instance, in volatile trading days, we had a little brief discussion before this video and how something can collapse. Well, if you've got a stop loss, or for instance, you want to get out of a trade, how do you get out of a trade now? You just have to follow the price. But a stable coin helps you to actually jump off if you catch it at the right time, at least minimize your losses, or if you have gains, protect those gains. So that was the reasoning realistically behind bringing stable coins. Ethereum and Bitcoin, what we think, are also important in terms of being more stable assets, and those assets give a lot more like flexibility, someone who doesn't want to move off of Cardano and start investing in the actual assets within those their own ecosystems. So we thought we'd bring more stable assets. So Cardano users have a choice to, if they want to have exposure to Bitcoin and Ethereum, to do that. So that was realistically the major reasons that we started looking at options of how to do that.
Yeah, you brought a lot of utility to Cardano. You know, you gave them essentially anybody that wanted to stay native within the Cardano ecosystem now had the access to stablecoins, of course, Ethereum and Bitcoin. So you really exposed a community, an ecosystem to the kind of broader cryptocurrency world outside of it, which I thought was a fantastic feature. And I'm sure it will potentially happen again. You know, I'm sure that
absolutely.
In the future,
I mean, 100%. I mean, I think that the ecosystem we live in, and you know more than anybody being in it for such a long time, is that the principles haven't gone away. You know, when I started or you started in this ecosystem, it was about DYOR, right? Do your own research. And we didn't really realize that probably at the time, because we had very little information in 2000. I think it was 13 and 14, and 14 I was active, you know, 13 I was exploring. There was no, like, you know, you tap Bitcoin and there was like 3 articles or something on it. So it was, and you really don't understand that until you get hit by losses. You know, and I've got hit by losses multiple times going into projects, ICOs, various aspects. This is on a personal basis. Until I hit my head against the wall enough times that I woke up and I said, yeah, I need to actually know what this asset is that's just going up, and then I'm looking at the price. What is it? I didn't even know at some time, you know, for some time what that was. And then I thought, oh, this is a project. Oh, it has a team. Oh, it has actual, you know, kind of things that they do. And I go, oh, realization. So that's one really thing. Do your own research. DeFi presents lots of exciting opportunities as well, as opposed to TradeFi and CFi. And really, to exploit those, you really have to understand what you're getting into, and that's the other bit I would advise, and that's it. I won't talk anymore, but really be cautious, not because I'm telling you, but because there are a lot of dodgy projects out there. There are a lot of bad actors. Do not put all your life savings into just one project. At least disperse them into a portfolio of projects and enjoy the gains.
Yeah, that's good. That's very good advice. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. You know, this is still such a new and innovative space that, you know, we can have our sort of bets placed on who we think the winners will be, but it's all still to shape up. And it's really important to pay attention to what the product's actually doing rather than what the price is doing. And is there anything behind it? Are they funded? So on and so forth. So the next question I've got for you, Karan, is why did you guys use Nomad Bridge in the first place?
There wasn't just one reason. So when we thought about actually doing this, obviously, first of all, Cardano gives you that capability of interoperability through a protocol they have. And essentially what you can do is bridge over assets from other people. Other ecosystems. To do that, to enable that, you need bridges. Bridges, as we discussed earlier on, are gateways from one network to another. Unfortunately, they've had multiple hacks, but there are many bridges that are working solidly and well. So when we took this decision, and by the way, we used 2 bridges. So we used Nomad first to bring it into Milkomeda, which is an EVM chain, and from Milkomeda bridge to bring it into Cardano and our DEX. So one of the reasons was that Nomad was one of the most utilized and used bridges to bring assets into Milkomeda. So that was one of the first decisions. So we looked at it. It was sound in terms of architecture, in terms of its conceptual development, and in terms of being innovative, secure, and safe until obviously the hack happened. We went live in April, and until August, when we were reviewing obviously various options, this seemed like a very solid bridge to use in order to carry out the bridging. The other one was they had separate, I think 3 separate audits done, and the last by QuantStab and QuantStab are one of the most reputable in the space. They really know Solidity code, they really understand it, and they'd audited it. They had highlighted, I think it was a detail within there that it highlighted some kind of little bug or something like that within the system. Now, we don't know whether it was that bug that when was released and not re-audited led to this exploit or not, but we don't think it's good practice if that did happen to release a new version of your, if you like, Apple software or bridge, and without doing a further audit. We really don't know whether it was that or not yet. But Quantstamp did audit them, so that was a very, kind of a thumbs up towards kind of using this bridge. And unfortunately, this happened. We know from our end, which I should sort of also say, we know about 1,000 accounts, 1,000 wallets were affected. Okay. On a more positive note, I should say that out of 1,000, the biggest liquidity providers were probably under a handful. Okay, so the actual main losses to the remainder, even though hard and we all really feel for their losses, were minor compared to the bigger losers, which were only a few of them. That doesn't make the pain go away. That doesn't make things better. And, we understand, a loss is a loss. Even if you lost, $500 or something, it's a loss. So, as I said, we're very empathetic towards that. But that was the actual situation. And that was the thinking behind choosing a bridge such as Nomad. No issues, 3 different audits by a very reputable, obviously, audit firm. But perhaps we're thinking before the last release, that little feature or detail that was highlighted wasn't probably attended to as well as it should by an audit, which is not good practice, and that could have possibly led to that. But this is just an assertion I'm making, but it's not proven.
Yeah, no, that's a brilliant answer for why you chose Nomad. They very much ticked all the boxes. Not only that, I think prior to this, they had around about $4 million in a funding round. They were also invested in by the likes of Coinbase, the Coin Fund, and a number of other things. So they really did tick all the boxes when you were looking from a due diligence point of view to use a DEX. And it was very much
absolutely
fair.
They just recently announced it before the hack as well, which was quite, devastating, obviously, a shock. Yeah.
What can we look forward to? What's the latest developments on the Wingriders DEX?
I think I hinted at the beginning, so maybe in the wrong order. But so I think we had our interview a couple of months ago, if I'm not wrong. It's somewhere in mid-June, I believe, if I'm not wrong. From then, we had 3 IDOs on 3 different platforms. We had a whitelist. All of these were successful. We released our tokens for price discovery. Everything was going very sweet, obviously, until the hack. That just puts a little bit of a dark patch on things. But obviously, we managed all of that. The token came into release. So we've been committed to decentralization and becoming a decentralized autonomous organization or a DAO from the beginning. So the latest features, one of the earliest features actually were the stake pool voting. And stake pool voting we thought was very important for people in an ADA pool to be able to at least, by majority vote and, set parameters to choose which pool they would like their ADA to be delegated to. And obviously they get the kickback that comes back into the ADA pool that they all share, according to whatever proportion they have. So that was like kind of the first steps. And then more recently, we've released this boosting feature and obviously our governance section within the website, which is good. So they're 2 separate things. So the governance section essentially looks at your WRT holdings, because our WRT token is our governance and utility token. And you can see exactly how much you got on your wallet, how much you're farming, how much in various places, and it's full of information. So anyone who has or intends to buy WRT, I would definitely point them in that direction to have a look. Then we had obviously the triple and quadruple gains as well from farming. So how does that work? So we enabled farms with double yield farming. So Drip Drops is the first at the moment. We're in talks with lots of partners to enable double yield farming. So by having, again, ADA and another asset, putting it into a pool, you get some staking rewards, you get some fees coming back. But also when you farm those LPTs or liquidity provider tokens, you start to get farming rewards, say in WRT and Drip Drops. So that's really a quadruple return. Now the latest version is boosting, and a boosting vault that we've developed. Once you obviously have WRT and you're farming, those ones that have boosting give you even more gains. So you get not your regular, if you like, yields from the farms, but you also receive some boosted returns in the form of WRT tokens. So we're very excited about that. As I said earlier, this is kind of one of the major utilities we had of the WRT tokens. So we're happy. Anyone who wants to find out more about the utilities, we have a WRT token section on our website, so you can check that out. And more recently, that was a scoop. I think I'm not going to repeat it, but we've got this feedback platform. So again, opening up to community, and really more importantly, these features that I'm discussing are all aimed at moving towards becoming a decentralized autonomous organization. And behind the scenes, we're making many more changes to do that, bringing more revenue streams to the platform. Our ultimate plan is to become a DeFi hub, realistically, within Cardano, and to offer the most cutting edge services. So for instance, the boosting vault was inspired by a balancer and curve. You know, we look at the best and we try to emulate that and bring it to you where we don't just solidly innovate it ourselves. We do look at the best and we try to bring that to the Cardano community.
Yeah, and for anybody that's interested in finding out Wingriders' vision of becoming a DAO, I'll leave a link to the last video that me, Karan, and Liam did, talking in a lot more detail about that. We've got a lot to look forward to, and it's fantastic to hear that the Wingriders DEX is all right, the Wingriders team is all right, despite everything going on, and there's a really exciting future ahead of us. So the last thing left for me to say is thank you very much for coming on, Karan. It's always an absolute pleasure to talk to you. And
thank you very much, Olin.
Thanks a lot for shedding some light on the situation.
Thank you very much for having us. Yeah, take care. Bye.
Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.